What if the more it is that you put people and things on a pedestal, the more likely it is that you'll actually repel them away from you? I have found myself doing this throughout my entire life, and I'm now realizing that this is why my relationships have looked the way that they have, right? It's fascinating when you make things out to be more important than they actually are, right? For instance, oh, it would be absolutely so cool if this could happen. It would be absolutely so cool if I could have that person as a partner. It'd be absolutely so cool if I could, this, that, and the other, right? Instead, if you see it as natural for you, natural for it to occur in your life, it's a completely different energy dynamic, right? And so, like, as I reflect on my life and as I look at the way that things have unfolded for myself, I'm realizing that I've kind of looked at things in an unbalanced way, and I've been like, "Oh my god, it would be absolutely so amazing if I could have this, or if I could have that, or if I could be with this person, or if I could be with that person," right? I have put people and things on a pedestal, and I've made people and things far more important and necessary than they actually are, right? It was actually more recently in the past few years that I started to adopt the whole mantra of either way, I'm good, right? Rather than putting people on a pedestal. Seeing it as natural for myself to experience these things in life. And then when you start to do it that way and you start to generate the feelings that you're looking to feel by manifesting these things or people, you realize that you don't actually need any of it, right? And this goes on par with the video that I made yesterday, where it's like when you make your inner world more real and more beautiful than your external world, right? When you stop being affected by your external reality, the entire game changes. It's a wild experience, it really is. And then you realize too, it's like, oh well, you never actually needed these things that you thought you did. You just wanted to see what it would be like to experience it in a way that has you seeing, oh wow, my internal world is more real and more beautiful than my external world. But you're attracting based on your internal world. So your external world is starting to match your internal world, right? It's going from cause and effect to causing an effect, right? Previously, you were affected by your external world, and that led you to experience life the way that you did. Now, your internal world is changing because you're choosing to experience the experience first before it happens. You're choosing to feel the gratitude, feel the love, feel the euphoria, the ecstasy, the incredible emotions, the incredible elevated emotions, and you're attracting based on that, right? And so this whole game of putting things and people on a pedestal and thinking to yourself, "Oh my god, it'd be so amazing if I could just experience that, if I could just have that partner," rather than feeling it yourself, right? I don't believe that it's not for no reason, or I don't believe that it's for no reason. There we go. I don't believe that it's for no reason that one of the most powerful things a person can do is love themselves first, is focus on their relationship with themselves first rather than looking for it outside of them. Because once you get that, right? If you focus on loving yourself first before you allow anybody else to love yourself, and you realize how beautiful that game is of loving yourself, and you realize the quality that you can love yourself with, right? Like, you're going to look at anybody else that loves you less than you love yourself, and you're going to be like, no, no, right? You're actually going to have a foundational standard for what it is that you expect, and you're not going to allow anything else. This is why going at it from the inside out is much more powerful and beneficial than looking outside of you for things, right? And so then the whole game of putting things and people on a pedestal kind of gets like severely watered down, and you're like, oh, why am I doing that? I don't need to do that. Why did I ever do that? Oh, I ever did that because I was living from a place of lack instead of love, for instance, right? It's wild when we go about it that way. It is. And I think that until a person really wakes up and realizes what they're doing, when I say wake up, what I'm really referring to is, repetition compulsion is something that I talk about a lot in my videos, right? And that's kind of what it is that we're waking up from. We're waking up from these unconscious patterns of behaviors, of ways of living that we learned in childhood, right? And that's essentially what it is that we're waking up from, right? Um, Choosing to look outside of me for love rather than loving myself and attracting based on that. If you look outside of yourself for love, right? Oh, who's gonna love me? Oh, who's gonna love me? Are you gonna love me? Are you gonna love me? Like you're coming from a place of lack because you probably don't love yourself. You probably don't feel it within yourself. And that's why you're approaching it from that standpoint, because you feel like it's challenging for you to love yourself. So you're looking for somebody else to love you. Well, I think the reality of the situation on that end is that if you're looking for somebody else to love you, you're also looking for somebody else that's looking for somebody else to love them. So you're looking for somebody else that probably doesn't love themselves either, right? So if you're looking outside of you for something that you already have inside of you, right? And you're not giving it, so you're not giving it to yourself, so you're looking for somebody else to give it to you. You're just playing the same game of lack, which is why you look outside of yourself, which is why you find people that do the same thing as you do and looking outside of themselves for what you're looking outside of yourself for. Almost got into a tongue twister there. But it's really wild, right? And I want to talk about the fascinating experience of, just in my own experiences, do a little bit of storytelling and everything of like putting things and people on a pedestal. It's a fascinating thing. Once you realize what you're doing and you're like shining up this person when really they're not shiny, right? Like you're idealizing them, you're idolizing them, right? You're like, oh my god, it'd be so amazing if I could have this person in my life, or oh my god, it'd be so amazing if I could have this job in my life. Oh my god, it'd be so amazing if I could just get into this Ivy League, right? But then the funny thing is, like, once you finally get there and you have it, and maybe you realize that it's actually not as delicious as you previously thought it would be. Maybe it's a relationship, for instance, and you get into the relationship and you have the person, right? And you're finally there, and then you realize that the relationship is not fulfilling. The relationship is actually pulling you down. It's holding you back. It's not fun like you thought it would be. Whatever ideas you created about the relationship don't match up. They don't add up, right? And again, just this whole thing of, I don't even know if this is a word or the correct extension of this word, but like pedestalizing. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Like when you pedestalize people, when you idealize people, it's like, oh my God, look at you, way up there. Oh, wait, you're not actually. Oh, fuck, right? And then it's just kind of like, it's like, oh, um, never mind, I was wrong, right? But then you stop doing that, and you're like, oh, I realized that I've been doing something this whole time that I never actually needed to, right? And then you realize how actually unimportant things from the external are, right? Like, maybe you put somebody on a pedestal. Maybe you've put people on a pedestal throughout your entire life, and then you start to realize how much of knuckle draggers and mouth breathers everyone are. Like everyone sucks. Everyone does, and that's just the reality of things. So it's counterproductive to idealize and to put people on pedestals, because like nobody's perfect. Nobody has their shit together, and we all are like that consistently, and that's fine. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, you know, people have discipline. People are, you know, consistent. Some people are, not everyone. Um, but like at the end of the day, like whatever it is that you think you're going to find in a person that you're looking for, and that's why you're putting them on a pedestal. Like, if it's love that you're looking for outside of yourself, give that to yourself first. You know, because there are people out there that are doing the same thing. Why? Because they don't love themselves. So if you find yourself in a relationship with somebody that's like that, you're gonna have a hard time with love. because you are with somebody that doesn't love themselves. If somebody doesn't love themselves, they really can't love you to their fullest extent. That's something that I've learned. And also, not only that, but even me being in a relationship with other people, with other women, no names, but and this takes a vulnerability. This takes humility for me to admit. Um, in Yeah, in all of the relationships that I've been in with women, I either didn't love myself or I didn't fully love myself. And with that, I wasn't able to give myself to the other person to the best of my extent and the best of my ability, right? That's not a fun relationship. That's not a healthy relationship, right? I never really started like totally loving myself, like hardcore, until more recently, and it's been an incredible experience. And like my, it's kind of wild how much things have shifted for me. It's kind of wild how much things have changed. My standards for myself and my relationships have transformed like fucking night and day. It's wild. Um, I've been cutting people out left and right. I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh yeah, Chris deserves to be fucking loved wholeheartedly. I'm not going to tolerate anything less. I'm not going to accept anything less. Right? And that's just the reality of it. I would argue, I'll end off with this. I would argue that the most fulfilling experiences of life are what you realize that you can give yourself first rather than looking outside of yourself for. And putting things and people on a pedestal is just because you have this belief that the world can make you happy, right? I really think that it's any person's individual job to make themselves happy and to do what they can for themselves instead of looking outside of themselves for it. Happiness is an inside job. It's an inside game. It really is. It's an inside out thing, right? Because like life is always mirroring you and who you are, right? Reality is always mirroring that. And so when you get that right, you're going to see that. When you get that right on the inside, you're going to see that on the outside. Like, take this from somebody who has had a lot of experience with anxiety and depression as a result of, like, back then, life and reality mirrored to me who I was. And it did. It absolutely did. So, I understand this whole game of Inside Out. Back then, life and reality mirrored to me who I was being. I was being somebody from a place of lack, right? I didn't have this or that. Or that's not that I didn't have this or that. It's that I didn't see in myself this or that. And that's one of the most important things about this whole journey is what you do or don't see within yourself. And I think that that usually dictates what you look for outside of yourself.